Welcome to the afternoon constitutional, and we put it together for you here for your dining and dancing pleasure each afternoon. And if you want to say high tea, we're usually done by 4:20, so I don't know what you're talking about. The Government Accountability and Oversight Group helps us with so much support. Govoversight.org. These are the folks who walk around with the metaphoric Klieg lamps in their hands and shining light where the government, the authoritarians don't want you seeing it, and catching them in the act of doing things like hiring lawyers that aren't part of the government to go after citizens for doing things like giving their money to a group that might help them defend their liberty or their farm or their independence or their free speech. How dare they? Don't they understand that's the government's job? And that's why we hire all of these off-book attorneys who aren't beholden to the government, aren't required to do anything like the government, and can't be punished like the government, although the idea of anyone being punished in the government is somewhat chuckleable as well. We've got a special program coming up for you in just a moment, but I want to take a moment because we've only been back on for a little while, a couple of weeks, 2-3 weeks. We've already had one episode taken down of the program from our YouTube channel. By the way, Dr. Paul Marek from the Frontline COVID-19 Critical Care Alliance is coming up again tomorrow. So maybe YouTube should just take the show down before we do it, and we can all sit around and have a beverage. But that's coming up tomorrow on the program. But we've tweaked the bear in a small degree because little old Afternoon Constitutional has managed to bring out the big guns. We are one of the few places that has been talking about the Electronic Registration Information Center, ERIC, and Virginia's departure from it. You may recall just a couple of days ago, Hayden Ludwig was on this very program. Well, what should my wandering eyes appear but the holy grail himself of, I'm not a leftist. No, I'm not a leftist. I just love all of them, and I think they're great. Larry Sabato of the Larry Sabato Institute, for getting Larry Sabato mentioned on the evening news. There's Larry's smiling mug right there. Larry took to the afternoon news shows to take shots at what we had been covering regarding E.R.I.C.
Virginia has withdrawn from the Electronic Registration Information Center, called E.R.I.C. UVA's top political analyst has harsh words for the governor.
Keep the voting rolls clean.
Larry Sabato with the UVA Center for Politics says there are a number of reasons why rolls need to be cleaned out.
People are born and people die. And the people who die need to be taken off the rolls.
Virginia is now the latest Republican-led state to remove itself, making it the 8th to do so.
What is absurd about this is the only real opposition to this group is from conspiracy theorists who are connected to Donald Trump.
So I thought, well, gee, I'm not connected to Donald Trump. I have been in the past called a conspiracy analyst. So I thought it would be illuminative before we get to our next guest if we went back to the program of just a couple of days ago where our friend Hayden Ludwig was explaining what E.R.I.C. really was. Do we have E.R.I.C.? Do we have Hayden from just the other day? I thought we had the clip ready for it. Did we lose the clip? And then we can go to Leo in just a moment there, but I thought we had a clip of Hayden. Here he is.
E.R.I.C. was sold to the states a decade ago
for some
to
time.
clean up their vote.
So there you have just 2 days ago here on the Afternoon Constitutional. You can watch the whole episode at your leisure. It's still up. It's unlike the Dr. Paul Marik episode from a few weeks back. It has not been removed by YouTube as of yet. So we're going to continue on the subject of voting because, as Joseph Stalin once told us, Joseph Stalin said very clearly that it's not who votes, but it's who counts the votes. And so when you see the folks running around with these voter harvesting games that they're playing, and that they're out there trying to win you over and drag you out to the polling places, you understand it is about first and foremost dragging people in to vote that have never voted before. This is what E.R.I.C was all about in the first place. And then on top of that, you have the people who are sitting there supposedly making sure that every valid voter casts one valid vote. And then you hand them ostensibly your legal document. This is how the system is supposed to work. You hand them your legal document, and then they take it, and they're bonded because they're sworn to an oath to the Constitution, and they will go to jail, supposedly, if they violate that. So they take your legal document. Imagine it being a last will and testament, or a deed to your property, or your car registration, or your work contract. These are all legal documents, just like your vote is. So they take this legal document, and instead of just tossing it on the floor, which it might well happen if it falls out or somebody cuts open one of the ballot drop boxes, like happened to a bunch of U.S. mailboxes in the 7th Congressional District. You have some recourse because this person is bonded. Well, who are these people? Who are these registrars? Who are these election workers? Well, in many cases, these are activists just like the folks behind E.R.I.C. These are folks who want their team to win, and they know how to work the system. And when all else fails, the system, when it's caught, will then strike back against all comers. Now, joining us on the line, he's working on his camera there, is Leo Gutierrez, who up until very recently had been the registrar of elections in Buckingham County, Virginia. You may recall this story from a couple of weeks ago. NBC News was sent a story out of Buckingham, and they said, Trump election fraud there. Leo, thanks for taking some time. How are you doing, sir? Leo? It says Leo's connected. Do we have Leo at all? This is going to be difficult. Is that, I don't know if or where he went to. Is his mic muted? This always happens to me with Zoom. So I don't know where Leo is. We can't hear him at all. Leo, are you there, sir? We're not hearing him at all. Well, this is not going to go very well. This is what I was accusing us when we were talking about election fraud earlier in the week. I said this is when you challenge the paint drying channel for all those views that Tucker Carlson isn't getting yet. We won't be his lead-in if we have these things. But Zoom is one of those platforms that I'm amazed, because I thought I was late to the party when it came to using Zoom as a platform for discussions and things like that. And I am apparently not so much. So again, the story, while Leo gets connected out of Buckingham, is there have only been a couple of registrars of elections over all the years there have been such a thing. And I think the most recent one had been there 28 years, and they had picked a successor. And she was there for a couple of years, I believe, and then stormed out because people were saying she was letting ballots in that shouldn't have been allowed in, and that people were voting that shouldn't have been allowed to vote, and she wasn't making the records available. I think we have reestablished with Leo. There he is, Leo Gutierrez, who then became the interim registrar of elections for what, about 48 hours, Leo? Is that how long you were there? Leo? Let's see what's going on with Leo. Yeah, still can't hear you, Leo. We see you though, and if anyone knows how to read lips, let me know, and we'll get to. There he is. He says one more second here. So Leo was the registrar of elections. He volunteered to take on this role as a registrar of elections. Just to keep things organized, because the office of the registrar of elections was completely closed for almost a month, and nobody had any ability to register to vote. Nobody had any ability to take care of their electoral business. So they had no place to go, and they were turning to the state. Governor Youngkin's office was trying to get something squared away, and so Leo stepped in along with another young lady to help along with the process. Now, has Leo got his audio? Nope. It says he says he's working on it. That, or he called me a name. I'm not sure which. But so they ran Leo out of the office the same way. A bunch of left-wing organizers, including the vice chair of the Buckingham County Democratic Party, wound up taking action against Leo for his position, because they had quotes from him in old meetings. We spoke to one of the supervisors, and this is a story that's as old as the hills in Virginia as well. The Board of Supervisors doesn't like the fact that they have no say over their local Board of Elections, because it is the purview of the electoral board, and it bypasses the supervisor's whole cloth. So they tried to get that, but the Democratic vice chair comes in and starts doing audits of votes to find out on her own if there were any of these ballots that people had claimed had come in from outside of the county, which, if you know anything about election law, that's one of the most basic places you know something has gone awry, if somebody votes that's not a resident of your county. Because that's why you have county boards of elections. And so they wanted to just see this. And what wound up happening, as is always the case with this stuff, is the name calling started, and everyone was called MAGA extremists, conspiracy theorists. And in the wake of the Durham probe, I think it's pretty clear we can all claim that conspiracies are not necessarily conspiracies. That should be temporary conspiracies until we know more, things that are only hidden just now. Leo, I see you've come back in. Do you have us now? No, still. Yeah, I'm glad we didn't hear that. I think that was not something you wanted the kids to hear. But I tell you what, we're going to take a quick moment and play the theme music here and see if we can't reestablish connection with Leo, and get back to you in just a moment here on the Afternoon Constitution. All right, so what we're going to do here is we're going to get Leo on the phone line because the story is compelling. And so what we're going to do is we're going to give Leo a moment, and we're going to get him on the traditional telephone line, because it's one of the things we can do here is when all else fails, we can shuffle and switch. So what we're going to do is get Leo on the traditional old phone line here and just talk with him in that way, so he can tell you the story, because the story is another one of these where they hide there and say, oh, well, and when you look at the laws, and each law is this thick, you realize that's where all the loopholes are in it. So now, we saw him, we know what he looks like. Just imagine you can see him again in your mind. But Leo, thank you, sir. How are you doing, sir?
Oh, I'm doing good, Joe. Just frustrated with this computer. I don't know why I'm not getting audio. Everything seems to be up to working except that. But I'm glad to be on your show. Thank you. Joe, I'll lose you. Joe?
All right, so now we're having.
There we
I
go.
know he's speaking. I can hear the phone working here. Give me 2 seconds here,
Here
because something
I am, Joe.
may be awry on
Here I
this
am.
end, and just the output, and let's try that now. So Leo, are you there, sir?
Yes, Joe, I'm here.
Okay,
here.
I'm gonna. I see what's going on here. That's why I'm not hearing Leo, but you are, and that's okay.
I hear
'cause you're really the only ones that matter in the process. All right, Leo. So tell us. I think I did a pretty decent job of telling your tale there regarding what happened with the registrars and such in this election process. So you volunteered to step into the fray and be the registrar. Why?
Well, I actually applied for the job. Okay. So we were.
But did somebody ask
Rep-
you to? Did somebody come up to you and say, Leo, we need you, or anything like
Well,
that?
several people thought that I was the right choice for the job, and I had my doubts because A, I hate politics,
Mm-hmm.
and B, I knew there would be a lot of opposition, and I wasn't sure I wanted to deal with that. But then I went to a few of the electoral board meetings, and I was shocked at what I was seeing and hearing.
And what do you mean by shocked? I give us some of the gory details. What were you seeing that shocked you?
Well, seemed like the whole town, all of Buckingham County seemed like was, trying to get Lindsay's job back.
Now, Lindsay is the registrar before you.
Right, Lindsay
Okay.
Taylor. Everyone was supporting her, and they were wearing T-shirts. We support Lindsay Taylor, and and people. There were citizens, usually the same ones, just brutally, just verbally assaulting the electoral board in a public meeting, in a public forum, on how terrible we are, and that we're a bunch of conspiracy theorists, and that the Republicans are trying to assure that we don't have fair elections, and they were.
But there were no Republicans that quit, and nobody ousted her. What was she asked to do? Because the NBC News story said she had been harassed. What sort of what harassment had she been suffering?
None, Joe. Okay, I mean, and of course, I say none. I was never ever notified or told of any kind of harassment of her. And I know practically everyone involved in politics here in Buckingham that's Republican. And these people they would never do something like that.
Well, could it have been, because we've seen this happen, Leo, in the past, that when you ask somebody to follow up on the legal responsibilities of their job and they don't want to, they scream harassment and
Right.
or some sort of other epithets that will hopefully make you stop asking them to live up to the legal requirements of their position?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
What happened was when Miss Taylor was preparing for the November 22 election, there is the Virginia election law states that you must have party parity as working the election polls, okay, and the polling places, and that was not done. Okay, the Republican chairwoman of Buckingham County discovered this
Hmm.
and then confirmed it by checking. Well, you can check. You can actually check whether a person is voting the Democratic primary or Republican primary, and she found that there were, I don't remember the percentage or the number, but there were quite a few number of independents,
Hmm.
so-called independents, that actually were Democrats. Now that is, you can't do that. Okay, you have to call the chairman of whatever party and tell them that we can't find any more Republicans. We need you to fill in some Republicans for us. We need, I don't know, 36 Republicans. And then the Republican chair will proceed to find the number of party representatives that will make parity happen at the polls. Well, Miss Taylor never did that. Okay, and she was, and Miss our Republican chairwoman made 4 attempts. Okay,
Hmm.
offering her 4 different options at different times to do the right thing and just fix it. That's all before the election. Well, she did not.
Well, let me ask,
And
let me insert there because I don't want to get too far downstream from this particular part of the story. Because I spoke with supervisor from the Maysville district, and he said to me, and I'm going to quote him because I thought it was an interesting way of saying it, Jordan Miles. He said that I asked him about the Republican poll watchers, and he said the Republican chair had not sent a list to the registrar in ways that had traditionally been done. And I thought that was an interesting, almost legalistic way of saying it. So it sounds to me as if the claim is it was lost in the mail, the dog ate it, it's in my spam folder. Is that their excuse now? Is that that the chair of the Republican Party sent these names to the registrar and she lost them, or she never received it in the way she
well,
expected to?
it doesn't quite happen that way. The registrar is supposed to contact the chair
Hmm.
and request the additional party poll watchers or poll workers,
Hmm.
election workers, and then she sends the names. Well, she never got that call ever. Okay, so that did not happen. So yeah, this is just a way for, I think, for the Democrats to just kind of, like you said, well, we never got it. She called, but we never got it. Well, I know for a fact that she did not call the chair and tell them we needed more Republicans. I know that for a fact. And Miss Taylor did not get fired. That's just what they spun. They said that we were going to fire her. The electoral board is going to fire Miss Taylor. No, they're just not renewing her contract. A registrar has a term of 4 years.
Okay.
Period. That's it.
Hmm.
Now, I know from direct experience, this happened to me when I was registrar. I think it was probably like day 5 or 6. An elderly lady came in, and she said she wanted to withdraw her name from election workers. And
Okay.
I asked her, well, why would you want to do that? And she said, well, I just don't want to do it. I said, okay, well, you got to have a reason. And she said, well, it's because Lindsay's not here anymore. I said, is that right? She said, yeah.
Hmm.
I said, so she was supposed to have this job just like Margaret Thomas did for like 20, 30 years. She said, yeah, that's right. I said, okay, so what you're saying is Lindsay was told by Margaret Thomas that she is going to have the job for 20 to 30 years. That's right.
Well, and this is the trouble, and I've brought this up. There's a connection as I analyze this with the big centralized government in Washington and their manipulation of the constitutional way we vote. So while they all
Correct.
talk about nationalizing, President Biden talks about nationalizing elections, what
Yep.
they really count on is each little small county, and they can insert, because people aren't paying attention to things like the electoral board or the registrar's office, and they can insert people there who will look the other way when things that aren't supposed to be, let's just say, quote unquote, legally completely, happen in and around the balloting. And I think that this is something that is unfortunately, because we've centralized so many things. I think media also gets centralized. Therefore, it's a rare moment when a story like this, I think it was their mistake. They sent it to NBC, and lo and behold, non-left-wing leaning media, the non-legacy media, saw the NBC story and said, whoa, 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 a second here, and debunked a lot of the things they said. But there were enough Republican poll watchers, and what this Lindsay person was told was that in 2023, at the expiration of her 4-year contract, it just wasn't going to be renewed, and she left anyway in advance of that.
That's correct. So that made the registrar's office place the registrar office in a very difficult position.
Mm-hmm.
What she did was she just quit without notice. In fact, she gave a letter to the then chair of the electoral board, Miss Gail Braxton.
Okay.
And she was up there, and this just tells you what this double standard here. She's up there with all kinds of making her personal political statements about what's going on, and
I imagine the name Trump came up at some point or another, or MAGA.
It always did. It always did. And so she can say whatever she wants, and but heaven forbid someone on the Republican says something, but there was given a letter from Miss Taylor not to be opened and read until after the electoral board meeting,
Mm-hmm.
which was about 8:00 at night, and that was a letter of resignation. Now, that was illegal. Okay, that's an unlawful. That was. I'm not saying it's illegal, but as a registrar, you can't do that. You can't just leave without notice, she was supposed to contact the electoral board also before she left. Okay, all of them, not just the Democrat.
Mm-hmm.
And she claimed that she was going to use her last day would be officially like the 30th of the month. I don't remember what month it was, maybe May and or April. I don't remember. What month are we in? I don't even know. Well,
it's been
February,
a busy
March,
month for you,
like
Leo. I get it.
Okay. Well, so she said she was going to use her 2 weeks vacation time. Well, she can't do that either without asking if not getting it approved by electoral board. She just bypassed that rule altogether. Okay. So she just left. And then it is my understanding that she packed the office with her stuff late at night. So
well,
it's
now
all
hold on
very
a second.
weird.
Hold on a second here. Didn't you? And I may be jumping ahead, and people may not know this. Fact's not an evidence counselor,
Mm-hmm.
but I am aware that you've been served with trespassing notices because you came by to drop off your keys. How is it she didn't get served with trespass notifications for being there? What sounds like considerably after hours.
I don't know. Double standard, Joe.
Interesting.
Double standard. It is interesting, and not only that, the judge who selects the submissions for electoral board is changing the rules now. Okay.
How so?
For this time around, every time the chair submits 3 candidates, the selection either gets eliminated because of whatever reason they can find, which would happen. That's what happened to Mr. Todd Jamerson, that he was going to be on the board, and he was forced to resign the next day. So we had a little strategy planned for this, okay? Because one gentleman he's been presented 3 times and never been selected. Okay.
Interesting.
And so my wife came up with a brilliant idea. Okay. And I'm
They
going to
usually
tell
do.
you. Yeah. She said, why don't we have the chair put our names in the hat for the next Republican on the board? I thought that was brilliant. And it was brilliant in many ways, because if something happened where neither one of us, neither of the 3 were selected, then that smells really, really fishy. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And that's exactly what happened. So now we got served earlier today, with a notice to appear in court next Wednesday before the judge, to discuss this electoral board thing. Okay.
So all
Now,
of a
not only-
sudden,
not only-
your nomination is back in play.
it is back in play, but I've got to go before the judge. My
Okay.
wife and me and this other gentleman that's been presented 3 times, the 3 of us are very strong Republicans. Okay. And the county already knows that I can't be pushed around, and I don't mess with it. You don't mess with me. Okay. You're not going to push me around. I'm not your patsy.
Mhm.
And they know that my wife is probably the same way, because she's already spoken up in meetings a few times as well. And they know this other man is also a dedicated Republican that has, a lot of knowledge, and neither one of us got selected. And now we have to go to a hearing to talk to the judge about it.
Well, at least it's
What's
not
there to
out
talk
of
about?
hand. Well, so Leo Gutierrez is on for about 15 minutes. He was interim registrar. It was a little longer than that, and they rode him out of town on a
Not by
rail.
much.
And so again, there's no registrar of elections. We have, and this county is in the center of 2 big House and Senate races as well, both in the center of a fairly Republican-leading Senate district and House district. But if this is going on in Buckingham County, it bears the scrutiny to make sure in all the other counties in these Fluvanna County and all the other counties, Louisa, that the same shenanigans aren't going on, because we're going to have 45 days of voting. And part of this, Leo, I'm going to put my analysis into here, is
Go ahead.
because
Go right ahead.
because if the House and Senate change leadership, and the House keeps theirs, maybe strengthens it, and the Senate changes leadership, there's a very good chance that these election obscurers, the 45-day ballot harvesters, and the liquid democracy crowd are going to lose their ability to do this, because the election laws will tighten up again. And so they want to make sure, if they can, perhaps a left-winger gets elected in the 56th House district or the 10th Senate district, against the quote-unquote MAGA Republican. Now, we don't know who the 56th district delegate is going to be. That's going to be decided this Saturday. But we do know that John McGuire, who's been on the program, is the Senate nominee, and I'm sure they would love to be able to run somebody and stuff the ballot boxes, as we learned from Hayden Ludwig how they do it. They're dragging people out to vote that have no interest to, and these are the kind of things that a registrar would be able to see. It's like, hold on a second here, all these ballots are coming in from places we never get ballots from before, and coming back to you, Leo, one of the stories was that Ms. Taylor was accused of allowing ballots to be counted from outside of the county. You have an interesting perspective on this, and I was told that that there was an independent, and that was the word that was used by Supervisor Miles, an independent review of these ballots done by the vice chair of the Buckingham County Democratic Party, without anyone there in the room, you tell me, right? Nobody was there when Ms. Snoddy went in and started looking at these ballots, the vice chair of the Democratic Party. And for my Democrat friends, what if the vice chair of the Republican Party did that? Look at how you have reacted to Donald Trump suggesting that there could be parliamentary procedures during the Electoral College certification. But suppose Ronna McDaniel walked into the back room of the Senate and started yelling at Mike Pence to do something about the election results. I think you guys would have a problem with it, and I have a similar problem with Ms. Snoddy going in and just rifling through absentee ballots.
That is what happened. I'll give you the background on it. She called my office. This was probably my second day there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and I already knew who she was. I mean, everybody knows who she is, and she's a problem for the Democratic chair as well, apparently. And she said she wanted to get a list of the absentee voters from the November 22nd election. I said, okay, well, she said it's public information. I said, okay, fine. I don't know if I have. That's going to be in Veris, which is the voter software system that we use for elections and for the for the state board of elections. And she said, just I don't think you can do that until we show you how to get into we got to get you into Veris, and we're coming out next Tuesday, so we'll talk about it then.
Mm-hmm.
So then I called. Let's see. Okay. Oh yes. I think I talked to our liaison. I'm pretty sure it was her again.
Okay.
And I said, well, what is it? What exactly is it? And can I release it? She said, well, I don't know. Okay. I said,
So
okay,
your
because I know
liaison
she's gonna
from
show
the
up.
Board of Elections says, I don't know if this person can
Correct.
have a right. That
That's
seems,
correct. She said, just don't let her take anything. I said, okay. Now that makes sense to me. Okay. If you don't know, I just started. My best default setting for this is just don't let it happen until after I meet with our liaison on that following Tuesday. Okay.
mm-hmm,
And,
right.
this happened on a Friday. So this was actually it was my third day. Right. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, fourth day. It was my fourth day there. And I was told that we were going to have the liaison come on Tuesday. And she said she would help me, her and her colleague would help me, and would get me up to speed with the system. And then we'll
Right.
talk about giving her the list. So then Miss Snotty just shows up in my office and wants this. I said, and I told her I can't give it to you until Tuesday. And she brought, of course, one of her cronies. She happens to be Jordan Miles's aunt, with whom Jordan lives. Okay. And so she was in there with her, and I'm thinking, wow, there's a lot of people coming in the office right now. There were people in the lobby. I was by myself. I
Mhm.
started thinking, okay. And I'm sorry, Woody Haynes was in there too. She's on the electoral board. She was in the adjacent office where many of the records are. So I told Maggie I can't release anything. I can't.
Mhm.
So even if I did have it, I couldn't release it until I get approval on Tuesday. I said, so I can come back Wednesday. I said, yes, you may come back Wednesday. She said, how about 1 o'clock? I said, that will be fine. Come back on Wednesday.
Okay.
And
Seems
if I can give you the list, I'll give it to you.
seems reasonable.
It does. And so she left. She and Miss Miles left.
Mm-hmm.
I heard the ding when they went out the door. And she said, because you have someone waiting in there, waiting in the lobby for you. I said, okay. I went out there, and it was another lady from the county who wanted to talk about the 21% of votes that were not from the county, and she had an explanation for it. She knew why it was why that was being reported. I said, okay, come on in. And so I went to my office, and the electoral board Democrat is in the adjacent office working on
Mhm.
something on the computer. I don't know what it was. And then she told me that it was because a post office thing. Okay. I won't go into it, but it was a silly idea,
Well, no. I mean, this is the crux of the whole thing, Leo, as far as I'm concerned.
She said that it's because people that live in Buckingham County sometimes go to Albemarle to do their mail, and they get mail from Albemarle, so that's postmarked from a different county, but they really live in Buckingham. I said, that sounds reasonable, so I'll look into it.
Well, hang on a second. As far as I've been a poll watcher. I've been a poll watcher. I've been an election. You don't register from the address on the envelope. You register it from the address on the ballot. And
That's
so,
correct.
I wouldn't have if I mailed something from Charlottesville City Post Office. Sure, that's what it's going to say on the envelope as far as where it came from.
Right.
But the postmark. But the address on the ballot is still going to be my home address. So I don't understand how that becomes
Exactly.
a reason.
Exactly. It was just so. I thought, well, this she doesn't know what she's talking about. I was thinking this to
Right.
myself, and then I noticed that the door in the adjacent office was closed, and I thought, excuse me. So I excused myself. I opened the door, and there she was. Miss Snotty was in there taking pictures of stuff with her camera, with her phone.
The lady, the vice chair of the Democratic Party that had left, is now back after you were having this conversation about postmarks, and she's taking pictures. What is this?
Yes.
The Bourne identity? What's going on here?
That's what she did. Okay. And I didn't even know she slipped back in, but she sure had her decoy in there with me to distract me. So it doesn't take very much intelligence to figure that out. Okay. So she's in there. I'm saying, what is going on in here? And Maggie said, well, I'm taking pictures of the list here. You said I could. I said, I never said that.
You said
Yes, you
she
did.
could come
No.
back on Wednesday.
Yes, I said on Wednesday, and if I am told by my liaison and that it's okay for you to copy it, write it down, take pictures with your phone,
Right.
whatever she says. If she says it's okay, then fine. You can do whatever you want, whatever she says. Okay. And she said, okay, fine. And I said, I thought you left. Well, no, you said I could take pictures. I said, no, I did not say that, Maggie. That's not what I said. And she refused to acknowledge that that's what I said. I mean, just
Of course,
flat
because
out
it's your
lie.
word against hers. I mean, this is the classic,
That's it.
bait
Classic.
and switch.
That's right.
It's
classic. And now anyone that knows me, Joe, knows that I have my standards are way too high to lie. Okay. I can't do it. I'm not capable of it. And the level of depravity and sinister behavior that these people have, it's shocking. So I asked her to leave. And I said, what is that book you're taking pictures of? Well, so what's the absentee voter list? I said, I was told I didn't have that book here. I was told I did not have that list here, Maggie.
who told you that?
The liaison.
From the
in
state?
that state. From the state.
Oh, my gosh.
She said, you probably don't have that list in any kind of folder or anything. I said, okay. She said, it's probably in Veris. I said, okay. So then I said, Woody, what are you doing here? Well, I let her, she came in and I said she could take pictures of it. I said, you need to run that by me. When I know you're my boss on the electoral board, Woody, but I'm the boss here. Okay?
In this building, right.
That's right. This is my office.
But you see, and there's a wonderful song by a singer named Rob Ritchie. Most people know him as Kid Rock. It's called Podunk. And these people, they do this stuff because they figure it's small town. The drug gangs refer to the police in small communities as Andy Griffith or Barney Fife, and they say they show up in these small counties and they start their operations because they figure law enforcement isn't as savvy as they are in the big city. And I see the same thing happening here. Is they're trying to get all Democrats in charge of elections in an area where, because Governor Youngkin won the election, they're not supposed to be. The electoral board by law is supposed to be two Republicans, one Democrat when there's a Republican governor, and vice versa.
Correct.
And then the electoral officers have to, at least identify as such and be nominated by the party chairs. What concerns me is, where is the chair of the Republican Party on all this? I mean, you're raising holy hell about it. Obviously, the vice chair of the Democratic Party is acting like Dick Dastardly, skulking around, taking pictures like she's a spy in some 70s James Bond movie. But where's the Republican chair, raising holy hell in this? Why has she been silent in this?
No, she's not silent. She has been she was trying to get some help from the Attorney General's office, from John McGuire. They were in the middle of they were approaching the date for the convention, and she was doing all that she could from a distance. She was in Richmond a lot, but she was furious that even state was not helping me. Okay, now the Republican chair, it was just bad timing. I think it was just bad timing, Joe. I mean, there wasn't enough available time in her schedule to perhaps spend more time with this, even though she did spend quite a bit of time. We talked to her almost every day.
Okay.
Okay. So I can't blame her.
Oh, no, I wasn't blaming. I'm just saying, where are they,
Exactly.
and where is the Youngkin administration? Because I'll cast aspersions at Youngkin if his state board of election is screwing around in this, and some of it unfortunately stinks of the same thing we saw when President Trump was elected, and Republicans who didn't like Trump or didn't like, I didn't like ruffling feathers of saying, hey, could you show me where in the law this gives you the permission to do this? Oh, you're a conspiracy theorist. And this is the stuff that I don't like, because it's a Baptist and bootleggers coalition. I find, time and time again, of Republicans who just want Trump gone, and and in their memory banks is a bad, a bad Saturday night. And they can get back to doing things the way they've always done it, along with the leftists who are just gleefully saying, "This is our chance to run everything." And
Right.
that's why I asked that, because it sounds like your chair is trying to do the right thing, but where is the Youngkin and Company Board of Elections? There.
Non-existent. Non-existent.
All right.
The
Well, then
commissioner,
I know where we're going
commissioner-
next.
Yeah, the commissioner of elections, Miss Susan Beal, I called her
Mhm.
the day that Miss Snotty went in there and started taking pictures. Okay. And I told her, I said, Ms. Beals, I left a message. I said, this is Louis Gutierrez, the registrar, recently appointed registrar in Buckingham County. And I just want to tell you that I'm afraid there's been some sort of breach. The vice chair of Democratic Party, Maggie Snotty, came into the office unbeknownst to me and started taking pictures of a list, of a
Mhm.
voter list or something. Okay. And please call me back. And she called back that evening. Okay. The evening. I was already home. In fact, I was already in bed. Okay. And she called back. She was furious. And she said, do not call this a breach. This was not a breach. I said, then what was it?
A
She said,
bagel?
well, just don't. She said, don't call it a breach. Okay. I said, well, okay, but that's what happened. I don't know what she took pictures of. And what was she looking for? Well, she's looking for the absentee voter list that I was told I did not have by the liaison for our registrar's office for this district. And she said, well, just wait until whenever she comes. When she comes, I said, she's coming Tuesday. Well, wait until she gets there and y'all talk about it and figure it out. But don't call it a breach.
But
That's it.
meanwhile, she's got pictures of the absentee voter rolls and doing whatever with it. And again, I have legal friends who are like, "Oh, Joe, you're a little rough on this." But to me, your ballots are a legal document. Your voter registrations are legal documents. And if we're going to be this cavalier with legal documents, well, I'm going to invest in home title fraud protection and get a better contract for my job, because if this is how we treat the most essential legal document in America, oh, it's okay, she can take pictures of it. Well, is the same security on my deed to my home or the registration to my car?
Yep. It's so ridiculously outrageous that you can't make this stuff up. I mean, I don't even know where to begin, Joe. I mean, this whole thing with Jordan Miles too, his assault started with me my third day there.
Now he's
with a
suing
FOIA
you.
request.
He's suing you specifically, isn't he? Because you didn't comply with a FOIA request?
That's what he's saying, but I did comply with it within the time frame. And he tried to pull a fast one on me once. I just happened to look at before I left for home. It was late. It was like 6. I often stayed late with my deputy registrar because we always had our end of the day wrap up. We call it the "What can go wrong tomorrow," based on what happened today.
Yeah.
So I had various scenarios that I predicted might happen. Okay, and curiously enough, I was right on most of them. So we already had a plan to handle whatever crises or whatever madness or what hell awaited us for tomorrow. We'd have a response. Well, we were waiting there, and I mean, I said, I'm gonna check one more time. I'm gonna look at the email one more time and see what's going on. Jordan Miles sent me an email. It was like I don't know, 5 maybe 5:30.
Okay.
So it was, he probably, I mean.
And what is
knowing that
closing
registrar's
time?
office-
What is closing time for the registrar's office? Is it 5 or 6?
4:30.
4:30. So
4:30.
so this is long since after the registrar's office is nominally closed anyway.
Correct. And
Okay.
he's thinking, okay, I'm gonna email him the last day of that he can get where there was the FOIA was due the 7th day or 5th day, whatever it is. Now I don't remember. So he emails me later after he's assuming I'm not there. Okay. So that the next morning it's day 6 or day whatever it is.
Mhm.
Okay. So
Time's
I'm late.
ticking.
So I sent him a request for an extension right away.
Okay.
Okay. And that was on record. So I did that. And he gave it to me. And then I did it all. I answered all the questions. He's suing me, Joe, because he didn't like my answers. Okay. And I added a little convenience fee just because I was just pissed that he was wasting my time on this. I spent 14 hours of my time working on these FOIA requests, half of which you could have easily gotten off the website of the registrar.
Well, given and I work with a group that FOIAs quite a bit. Generally speaking, any public records business is supposed to have a FOIA compliance officer there, and that's again a failure in the State Board of Elections in this tumult to have. A fully staffed office, I'm sure, would have somebody there that would be
Correct.
handling
But
those.
that wasn't the case with me. See, I was told that I was the FOIA officer for the registrar's office. The registrar is always the FOIA officer. I said, okay, well, I didn't know that. Even though the website,
Okay.
the county website says it's, I can't remember his name now, of the county. That's the FOIA officer.
Mhm.
So I emailed him, and of course, I didn't hear back from him for a few days. And he said, no, you are the FOIA officer. I said, so I handle all the FOIAs for the registrar's office. He said, yes. I said, wow. So I'm expected to know FOIA law the minute I walk into the office. Jordan Miles knows I'm in a vulnerable position because I just got there. And then he sends me a second FOIA request on the 21st, just 1 week after the first one. Knowing that I'm in a vulnerable place, I'm by myself, and luckily I did finally get to hire a deputy. But he purposely did this, and what he failed to mention,
Mhm.
Joe, on his numerous times he's been talking to NBC, his buddy Jane Timms up there, and everyone else that he's on the media, he's notorious for that. He forgot to mention that I asked him repeatedly by email, and I even asked him over the phone. I left him a long message. Can we just meet face to face, man to man? Will you please just come to my office? Can we can settle this so we can at least have a working professional relationship?
Right. What was his response to that?
He never did respond to it, Joe. That's the point. He never once acknowledged at all, not even one time, that I've been asking to meet him in person.
So at the end of the day, we're coming up on the end of the show here, Leo. So, they're going to appoint a new registrar, I presume.
Right.
We're going to be heading into election season by the end of the summer. Will Buckingham County's voters have all left-wingers masquerading as Republicans, or will we have a balanced set of eyeballs watching the elections in Buckingham County?
At this point in time, Joe, that's a very easy question to answer. I believe that it's going to be the election will be run by a bunch of independents that claim to be Republicans, but they're not. They're actually Democrats. Okay, that's the curse of the independent voter. The independent voter is the one that's sitting on the fence, and people that are fence sitters are always the most dangerous. And they're the most dangerous because they're they can be influenced very easily.
Well, but
okay?
in Virginia, because we don't register by party affiliation anyway, I mean, we're all technically independent voters, and then you see who votes where. And that's why it's important to have the party chair send the list of their people to be election officers. It's always been my understanding there, Leo. So what is is there a next step with the Youngkin administration's Board of Elections, are there going to be people sent in from the state to kind of oversee what's going on here? Heck, I grew up in a city that went bankrupt and the state took over. So I don't know if
Yeah.
this is analogous to that or not, but what's the next step?
I don't, we are actively, the chairman of the Republican Party here in Buckingham, myself, my wife, and a few other key Republicans are working on a strategy on what to do next. Okay.
Mhm.
I will tell you this, that we are a bunch of really smart people that know how to strategize. Okay.
Okay.
And we try to make every move count. It has not been it's not an easy thing to do because you don't know who you can trust. Okay. Which is very difficult. We don't know who we can trust, but I know that if I was still there, I would be facing the problem of not having enough election workers because everybody was going to quit when I was there. Okay. Now, so for now, we have to address the importance of being proud of your party, whatever it is, Democrat, Republican.
Mhm.
This is my idea. Okay. My whole plan as registrar, if I was to get reappointed for the 4-year term, was to be a very out in the public registrar. Meet the registrar day, things like that. Ask the registrar day,
Mhm.
and I would want to tell the people of the county that you cannot sit on the fence. You have to represent something. Okay. So you don't like the Democrats, you don't like the Republicans. That doesn't mean you're an independent. Okay. Because as you said, Joe, we're all independent voters, technically,
Mhm.
but you do have a lean. So be proud of where you belong, what party, so that if you don't like some of the things that your party is doing or standing for, you're there to address it. And if you address it by the masses, then maybe we have a chance to save this country. But right now, the Democrats have such a grip on everything. I believe Jordan Miles is getting funded, for example. He's suing the county. He was suing me.
Well,
Karen
yeah, and
Sawinski.
I'm going to draw the line, and I'm not drawing the line because the subject matter concerns me, but I don't want to undo what efforts you're making towards getting the election portion of this right. In
Right.
this because they're already out there calling NBC News and they're saying wild-eyed conspiracy theorists and things like that. So,
Of course.
when we deal in speculation, we just wind up adding fuel to that fire. Leo, I appreciate it. I appreciate what you did to step in to try to do this. I appreciate what you and your wife are also continuing to do to try to get onto the electoral board and keep us up to date on what's going on in this Machiavellian little play that's going on here.
It's wild, Joe. It is so wild. And I thank you for taking the time to have me on your show. I look forward to doing it again. Trust me, there's a lot coming.
Well, and we'll get your camera and your microphone working.
Yes,
And
I'll
then,
tell you.
we
We'll
saw
do it
you
next
for a
time,
few
Joe.
minutes there, and at very least, we will talk to you again very soon.
Yes, now I got to go see my new grandson that's going to be born today.
Oh, well, that's much more important. So congratulations, Mazel Tov, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Joe.
All right. And thank you for watching. For all of us here at the Afternoon Constitution, we'll continue to poke around this. I've already sent an email to the Board of Elections to see what can be said about this and what they're doing about it. So until tomorrow at 3, remember Dr. Paul Marek, the Frontline COVID-19 Critical Care Alliance. You better watch it live because they'll probably take it down right after that. Until that time, so long, and thanks for all. Hey, can we get one of them Twitter channels like Tucker has? Thanks for all the fish.